Today, I want to talk to you about the heaviest organ in your body. It is not your brain. It is not your liver. It is the 4.5 pounds of bacteria living in your gut right now. Did you know that bacteria makes up to 60% of your poop? You are a walking, talking ecosystem. And today, we're going to talk about how to feed that ecosystem properly.
Mama and Papa, you always know the way. With shortening bread and laughter, you brighten every day. Through trials and tribulations, love is what you spread.
Welcome to the Real Food Revolution. With my 30 years of experience, I share my view on the good, the bad, the ugly, to help you make sense of it all and start feeling like you can feed yourself with joy and confidence again. Today, meet your microbiome. We're going to do it with a little science and also a little clinical magic. First, 5 things you need to know about your microbiome before changing anything. Fact 1. Scientifically, you are approximately 1.3 times more bacterial cells in your body than human cells. So when you look in the mirror, you're looking literally at a bug incubator. Ever heard of the gut-brain axis? Well, simply put, it's the superhighway called the vagus nerve running between your intestines and your brain. Your bacteria produce serotonin, dopamine, and GABA. That's the calm down chemical of that highway. About 90% of your serotonin is made in your gut, not your brain. But here's what most people miss. Your gut is not just sending signals up to the brain. It's running a parallel operating system, the enteric nervous system. The network of neurons embedded in your gut wall, it contains approximately 500 million neurons. That's more than your entire spinal cord. So when we say your gut is your second brain, it's not a metaphor. Fact 3. Diversity is everything. The healthiest microbiomes contain up to 1,000 different bacterial species. Modern life, antibiotics, ultra-processed food, chronic stress, that has made many of us microbiome poor. Low diversity is consistently linked to higher inflammation, weaker immunity, and increased risk of metabolic disease. So the goal here is really variety. Fact 4. Your first microbiome came with your mother, and it took 3 years to fully land. You were colonized at birth through the birth canal, skin contact, breast milk. Those first bacterial inhabitants set the template for everything that followed. Breast milk contains specific sugars that feed exactly the right bacteria. And recent research has shown it carries live bacterial strains of its own. That's a direct biological gift from mother to child. So for parents who had a C-section, I want to say this clearly. The microbiome is not a single event. It's a 3-year construction project. So by the age of 3, a child's microbiome has matured to closely resemble an adult's, regardless of how they arrived in the world. Birth canal, breastfeeding, skin contact, what goes on in the plate in those first years, they all contribute. So the mode of delivery is one factor, among others, and it's a factor that the body is remarkably able of compensating for. So the story of your child's microbiome is not written at birth. It's written over thousands of meals. Fact 5. Good bacteria eat what you eat. They are not passengers. They are tenants with strong opinions about the menu. The fiber from real food, garlic, onions, lentils, oats, asparagus, things like that, is what they live on. And when they ferment that fiber, they produce something called butyrate. That's a short-chain fatty acid that directly feeds your colon cells. It reduces inflammation and activates cancer protective genes, including the GST genes. So the bacteria eat the fiber, the butyrate feeds the gut, and the gut activates your protective genes. This is a 3-step gene conversation that goes on every time you eat. Ultra-processed food breaks that chain at step 1. No fiber, no fermentation, no butyrate, no gene signal. So, in fact, every meal is a new vote for the community you want living inside you. By the way, you will always find my sources in the show notes. And if you want to go deeper, join my member space. You'll get the nuances that I cannot fit into a 15-minute episode, the juicy details I cannot reveal on air, and exclusive resources for members. It's free. I call it my crispy uncut bonus. You'll find the link in the show notes. Moving on. Now, here's why I love precision nutrition. Because your microbiome does not operate independently of your DNA. The two systems talk to each other constantly. And one of the clearest examples is the FUT2 gene. FUT2 determines whether you secrete specific sugars into your gut lining, the sugars your good bacteria use as food. So if you carry the non-secretive variant of FUT2, which affects roughly 20% of the population, your gut bacteria are working with a reduced food supply. The gut barrier is more fragile, inflammatory conditions are more likely. So such individuals feel dramatically better when they feed their microbiome with the good prebiotic-rich food. There's a second connection I want to have here because it runs through my entire podcast. When your microbiome is disrupted, what researchers call dysbiosis, one of the first consequences is a measurable rise in IL-6 activity. That same inflammatory gene I talked about in many of my other episodes. A disrupted microbiome then is not a digestive problem per se, it's an inflammatory one. So your gut is not a separate system from your immune system. It's part of the same infrastructure. Now about probiotics. Here's what nobody tells you. Not every bacterial strain is right for every person. And for some people, the recommended probiotic strains can actively make things worse. The mechanism is histamine. Certain bacteria produce histamine as a metabolic byproduct via an enzyme called L-histidine decarboxylase. For people whose bodies already struggle to clear histamine, adding these bacteria is like pouring fuel to the fire. The strains implicated in published research include the Lactobacillus family, some Streptococcus family, and these are not obscure strains. They are in the products most people buy without a second thought. They're into aged cheese, they're into yogurt, and the symptoms are easy to dismiss. Migraines, flushing, skin reactions, digestive discomfort, runny nose, heart palpitations, anxiety. Many people who experience these symptoms after eating fermented food like sauerkraut, kimchi, or kefir, they were told that it would heal their gut, but they never connected the dots because no one told them. So histamine-friendly strains do exist. So in my crispy bonus this week, I give you the checklist to help you choose your probiotics. Link is in the show notes. So why do some people struggle with histamine and others do not? Genetics, again. The primary enzyme your gut uses to break down histamine is diamine oxide. It's encoded by your AOC1 gene. A 2021 study published in Nutri-Genious found that 79% of individuals with histamine intolerance symptoms carried one or more variant of this gene associated with reduced DAO activity. A second enzyme, HNMT, handles histamine clearance in tissues. So variants in either gene reduce your capacity to metabolize histamine from any source. For someone with reduced DAO or HNMT, the fermented foods and probiotic strains that improve their friend's gut health may be fueling their migraines, their skin flares, their digestive symptoms every day. If you've gotten this far, maybe you think this is useful, so please subscribe. It helps me put food on my plate. So how do you feed your bugs without guessing? First, probiotic supplements don't change your microbiome forever. They're like an army of soldiers coming to help in a moment of crisis. After the crisis, as soon as you stop them, your old army of bugs resurfaces, and they're left alone. Because you are what you eat. So the best way to change your microbiome is to feed it something different. So feed your microbiome with real food, prebiotics before you buy a single supplement. Garlic, onions, leeks, lentils, chickpeas, oats, asparagus, green bananas. These feed the bacteria you already have and drive butyrate production. They are well tolerated and they cost less than any probiotic on the market. Second, if fermented food makes you worse, stop eating them and pause for a while. Bloating, headaches, skin reactions, or fatigue after kimchi, sauerkraut, or kefir, or aged cheese are not signs that you need to push through. They're signs worth investigating. The gut healing protocol that works well for someone else may be actively wrong for you. Third, if you're going to use probiotics, strain specifically matters. The label lactobacillus tells you almost nothing. It's a specific strain and its documented histamine profile that determines whether this one is safe for your own biochemistry. And this is not information printed on most packaging. So automedicating here is not the optimal solution. Maybe you want to get help from a professional. As an author of books myself, I just love books. So every month I recommend a book I read. Today it's a book by Dr. Will Bulsiewicz. I hope I'm getting that right. The title is Fiber Fueled. He's a gastroenterologist who makes one argument very well. The single most powerful predictor of a healthy microbiome is the diversity of the plants you eat, not supplements. So he gives you a practical roadmap for eating your way to microbiome diversity. And that map looks a lot like what I tell my patients in my clinic. Where I would add a bit of nuance here is the subject we discussed today, the histamine question, the genetic individuality. The fact that his protocol is an excellent starting point, but that some people may need to personalize it. And of course, that's the beauty of Nutri-Genomics. So let's wrap this up. You're not just feeding yourself, you're feeding an ecosystem that weighs as much as your brain and influences nearly every aspect of your health. Your mood, your immunity, your inflammatory genes, your cancer risk. So that's worth taking seriously. But taking it seriously does not mean following generic microbiome advice and hoping for the best. It means understanding your own biology, understanding it well enough to know which interventions are right for you specifically. So your FUT2 status, your AOC1 variants, your HNMT function, these are not exotic details. They are the difference between a probiotic that transforms your digestion and one that gives you a migraine. So if this has gotten you interested and you want to know more about Nutri-Genomic testing, just book a free exploratory call. I'll be happy to answer your questions. Link to my website is in the show notes. Moral of the story, real food is always the right starting point. Personalization is what takes you the rest of the way. So thank you everybody for listening. Now eat real food, listen to your genes, and I'll see you next week. Keep the revolution going one bug at a time.
Mama's in the kitchen, skillet on the flame. Papa's by her side, calling out my name. A little coffee brewing, aroma in the air. In our family home, there's love everywhere. 3 little children tucked into their beds. 2 feeling poorly, thoughts fill my head. Doctor says a remedy is what they need. Mama's special shortening bread will plant the seed. Oh, Mama and Papa, you always know the way. you spread. Mama and Papa, your hearts are always fed. I remember sneaking in with pockets full of dreams.